Hi, my name is Dallas. This is the BYOBeats podcast, and we're here to talk about music and beer.
Nice.
Perfect. We love it.
Did it.
So, happy December, I believe.
Yes. Happy
Yeah.
December.
Happy
It's
December.
probably snowing by then. Except for Johnny, it's snowing right now, though.
Yeah, welcome to little BYOBeats Time Machine Snow Edition.
Yes. It is the first week of November for us, so we're all very sad. If you
Yes.
do know why,
Yes.
then you know why. And if you don't know why, I'm surprised you're here, honestly. But thank you all for listening either way. All you beer listeners. Yeah,
Beer listeners and music drinkers.
Music drinkers, yes.
Starting off really strong here. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a thing. It's a thing for us now.
Oh,
at
it
least
is?
for me.
Until we get a better name. That's what we're calling them.
I love that. I love
Yep.
it.
All right, let's just
So-
dive right in.
Yes.
I'm ready for a beer. I've had a really, really long couple weeks, so beer time.
Yeah.
Beer
The
o'clock.
selection was a rerun, right? We just had this one. Was it Alex?
Was it? Oh, yeah, it must have been.
The
Yeah. So-
Cheboygan Brewing Company Blood Orange. So I'll go first since mine is not that, because I don't get Michigan beers very well out here. I have the Grimm Brothers Brewing The Griffin, which is a Blood Orange Hefeweizen.
Oh, okay.
So that's way closer than what I had last time, which ended up being like a blonde ale, I think.
Yeah. Well, they have Cheboygan does a lot of blondes. When I was at the store for this, I saw like a blackberry blonde, and then I did pick up a blueberry cream ale or something from Cheboygan. So
Wow.
yeah, they vary their stuff quite a bit with the fruits in general.
Cool. So we ready for sorry. Before we do our ceremonial, Dallas and Doss, you both have the Cheboygan?
I do, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well,
Well,
cheers, everyone. Let's get that ceremonial crack.
Cheers.
I'll be transparent. This has been in my fridge for several months.
Nice.
I'm not upset about it, drinking it still though. These don't really lose their thing. I don't know what the thing is really.
Freshness.
Yeah, that's the one.
X Factor.
That's the good thing about a can versus a bottle to me is bottles. I don't know. Maybe it seeps out.
I think
Maybe.
bottles are better. Like, if you drink it right out of the bottle, it tastes better than if it's coming out of a can. But I do agree with you that the can, you definitely keep the freshness longer.
Yeah.
Wow, mine is actually really light.
Yeah.
I would consider this on the lighter side. I don't, Dallas, what do you think? Since this is your anthem.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead and tell us why it's your anthem as well.
Sure. So the first time I had this beer was up in Petoskey, Petoskey. I'm showing my
Yes.
Midwestern for sure. There's a music festival called Bayview, and it's a summer music conservatory for chamber music. And there was past tense a bar there called the Side Door, and for the Petoskey people, for the Bayview people that might be listening, they're like, oh yeah, the Side Door. They had this on tap, and I was just I would just kind of fell in love with it. I was like, holy, do you guys swear in this?
Sure.
Yeah, you can.
Like,
I
not
think you're supposed-
grotesquely, but like,
for sure.
if it's going to roll off the tongue, then please do.
Well,
We
now I'm
try to
thinking
keep it
about it too much.
PG-13.
Okay. I think you're supposed to. Does this go on YouTube?
It's
Yeah.
supposed to.
No? I think
It's
you're supposed to
supposed to.
not swear within the first like 5 minutes or something. Otherwise, I don't know. I've heard that from other.
Oh, okay. Well,
Some
let's
content
go with
creator.
that then until we're told otherwise.
So yeah, so it was up in Petoskey. They had it on tap, and I just fell in love with it kind of immediately. Yeah, and I took a chance on it because I mean my beer list, which will get revealed throughout the episode, tells you I'm not really a craft beer drinker. And you mentioned, Nathan, that this is on the lighter side. This is one of the darker beers that I like.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I know. I really don't drink that much. And I had a doctor's appointment today, a physical, and my doctor was like, "So how often do you drink?" And I'm like, "I don't really drink." And then I was just like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I have to drink 6 beers tonight. This is gonna be great.
You're like, I don't drink, doc, but this is
Right.
what I'm gonna do tonight.
Yeah,
Aren't
a
you
little
proud?
a little asterisk around today.
Right.
So now there is a ton of beer in my fridge. So we're gonna be like, back into it for a bit here. But yeah, not to put too fine a point on it. I don't really generally go for the fruity beers. You mentioned a second ago that Cheboygan does other fruity type beers. I'm actually really interested in that because I think the first fruity beer I tried was like a summer shandy or something, and I just wasn't about it. I've tried other fruity beers, and it just tastes like the flavors aren't like mixed together. This to me tastes like you're just drinking like a regular beer with an orange slice in it. That's like what this tastes like.
Yep. I'm sure that's what they're going for. The honey just adds the bit of sweetness, but you can just get that sweetness from any regular beer like you're talking about too. So, yeah, I'm enjoying this. I always do. Like, this is. I mentioned in Nicole's episode that I often don't finish the 6-pack. This was a 4-pack though, and I'm finishing it right now.
Hey,
Oh, that's so awesome.
I'm glad. This is actually a pretty good sub. I think from what you guys have been saying, I'm getting a lot of the same flavors here. There's definitely more of a Hefeweizen base to it. So it's a lot of people say banana bread type flavor. A lot of times with the real authentic German Hefeweizens, they tend to be really heavy. But this, I think that's why I was so surprised. I was like, oh, this is super light. On the can it says medium-bodied. I wouldn't say it's medium-bodied. I'd say this is pretty light-bodied. But it does have a good flavor. And the orange isn't like punch you in the face orange. It's really nice. Like you said, it's like, oh, you just got a little hint of orange, but it's mostly beer flavor. So yeah. I'm pretty stoked on this. This will be nice to sip on for the next 20 so minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else on Whiter Anthem beer, Dallas?
No, I mean, I had it. I mean, this was the year was 2015, and
Wow, okay.
all was right in the world. It was summer, it was like, we had just had a whole day of like just brass quintet rehearsals, and afterwards you just go out and have a drink, and I just managed to try this one, and it was just chef's kiss, and it's been a beautiful marriage ever since.
I got you.
Going on 9 years, so.
Right.
Yeah, this is a great beer.
Now that you're saying it, for a summer beer, if we're considering just the summer beers in general, this would be on the heavier side. I think you're right in saying that. Like, compared to the summer shandy that we were talking about, your soft parade. Well, no, it's probably up there with soft parade.
Yeah, soft parade is heavy only in the alcohol sense, but drinking a soft parade is pretty light.
Yeah, it's very refreshing. But in terms of, I guess, how it sits in your stomach, I'm feeling similarly.
True. Yeah, this definitely make a good summer beer.
If we're recording this in the spring, I realized it was a total omission off of this list was Oberon. That definitely would have been.
Yeah,
I mean
that would have been Anthem category for sure.
I think at this point, our listeners know if our interviewee is from Michigan, Oberon is either on their list or would be if it was in season.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Cool. I just had to make sure I said that. I felt personally like I was doing Oberon a disservice.
Yeah, I may have purchased the last Oberon 12-pack west of the Mississippi, so I'll be set for another couple months. But yeah, unless there's anything else, let's go ahead and get into the music.
Yeah.
let's go. Yeah.
So, season 3, I'm sure you guys are all used to it now. We're not embedding anymore. You guys are going to have some homework, and I'm going to have to find these songs. You can always look on the BYOBeats podcast playlist on Spotify. Just search up BYOBeats podcast, the complete collection. Or if you go to our link tree, it's linked right there for your convenience. So if you don't know where our link tree is, check out our Instagram at BYOBeats_podcast. It's right there in our bio. So that being said, time to listen to some music. We have, for the Anthem selection, Go Big by the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. So we're going to listen to that and come right back.
Welcome back. You just heard Go Big by the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. It's one of my favorite punk names that I've ever heard. I don't know this band, though. We'll start off simple, I guess. Dallas, why is this your anthem song?
So there were many contenders for the anthem. This one, among those other songs, it made me think about like the times in my life where I needed to just get really hyped, excited, and focused. I've used it for that. And punk music, and this is definitely the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones more punky songs. You know, you're not just not every song is gonna be like a ska thing. So there's a little bit of horns in there, but it's just so rooted for me in just throughout my whole life, just punk music, mainly from my dad. He's a punk rocker, and so I think this is one of the songs that he would just play on repeat, and really just like I can seek out. I went to a lot of punk shows, or I still do go to a lot of punk shows with my dad in Detroit, and we've traveled in Grand Rapids, or we've gone out of state. This is just one in the chorus. There's like an echo effect where they say, "Do you want to go big?" It's like where the audience comes in. I can just see my dad in the middle of the mosh pit, and he's a big dude, covered in tattoos. He usually, by this point, he has his shirt off, so he's just like in the pit with he's got his shirt wrapped around his studded belt from Hot Topic, and his fist is just in the air, just screaming like, "Do you want to go big?" And he has just this. I've witnessed that throughout my whole life. He just has this like larger than life gravitas. You know, a pit is not the most safe place in the world, but
No.
but it's just I've seen it time and time again. People just move out of the way because he will stand in the middle and people will just go around him. So it's that. It's I wrote down just kind of a few more things. It's he taught me how to snowboard when I was very young, and so go big, like hit a big jump, go physically, into the air. I've always thought of it that way. It's about toughness. It's put on your big boy pants, tighten your grip, and adjust your stance. I got the chills. I tear up almost every time that the song gets to that because my dad is also like a fighter of sorts. I've seen him protect the peace. So like when jerks want to make fun of people or get into people's faces or make it so that people are having a bad time at a show, wherever it is, he puts it upon himself to physically remove them from the situation. And so the tighten your grip and adjust your stance, I can picture that the exact, thing. Again, at a show, stuff like that. I also use this song before every single, like if I'm a trombone player, I'm sure we'll get to the bio part of this later, but I've used this especially lately. I'm no longer in school. I'm very much removed from like playing in master classes and lessons every single week, every single day. I use this song before lessons, before auditions. It just gets me to feeling like myself. It just gets me in excited. All of my neurons or whatever is up, whatever's in whatever the things are in your brain, those things. It just gets them all firing all at once and in the same direction. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people use drugs for that. But I'm glad that this song does that for you. That's awesome.
Yeah. it's magic. Yeah.
Yeah. I have some questions about your dad, just from that persona. I guess, where do you think it comes from? Also, what does he do for a living that allows him to maintain that persona and also be in a workplace? Like, I'm
Well,
just
yes.
curious.
So he owns his own business.
Okay.
But but he's worked for different companies throughout the years. But he's in the service industry. He goes and fixes things. And speaking generally, not to dox him or anything like that.
Sure, yeah.
Works with his hands for a living, with his own company. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
And do you think that you've taken on those personality traits, or is that not really something you aspire to? It's just something you admire?
It's something that I admire. It's something that I see as being a part of the alchemy that made me. Is that willingness to stand up for something, even if I'm not going to like physically get into an altercation at an event. And
Yeah, of
and
course.
I guess I'll be clear. I mean, it's been a while since that's happened. He's almost 60 years old.
Okay.
But growing up, he took me to my first show. The show was, I don't remember what year it was, but it was in Pontiac, Michigan, Clutch Cargos, which I don't even think is a thing anymore. It was a band. The main band was called a Face to Face. They're still a band. They're like a '90s punk band. They're like an East Coast. I actually don't know where they're from. I think they're from California. So maybe scratch that last part. But just like very fun, upbeat punk. The next band, or one of the opening bands, was H2O, and they were on there was a game called Street Skater for the PlayStation 1. They had a song on there. I'm going way too into detail on this. I'll just to say my first show, I think I was 7 years old, and I was just like on the balcony, just witnessing this show. I forget why I'm saying this, but yeah, I guess that's the history. So that was, I mean, I'm 30 years old. That would have been 23 years ago if I was truly 7 years old. So that my dad was in his 40s.
Okay. Wow. Very cool. Very cool at all, for sure. That's all I have. Johnny, anything on this? Because this is more your style of music than mine.
Yeah, so I would like to echo something you said about this being one of the Boss Tones' more punk songs, especially if you look at what their really big hits are. Their big hits are totally in the ska realm, where you get a lot of horn and saxophone, and upbeats and everything. All of your classic ska things. So yeah, there's that little part when the horns come in at the end. I'm like, aha, there they are.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I don't have anything too specific, I guess. The only thing is that you did mention right before we started how you'll see a lot of your father's influence in these selections. So we'll get to those when we get to them.
Sure.
Maybe one thing is, how do you think you see, and I mean bringing in like this song and also I guess punk music in general, how do you kind of apply that into your regular like day-to-day trombone playing?
I'm somebody who, if you've played with me in a school setting, professional playing, I'm definitely somebody who brings it. I like to. I think that is what drove me to study in Pittsburgh. Is that they bring it down there?
It's very true.
Yeah, and so I think, and just to go back to when I picked the trombone, I think in sixth grade, but that was 2005, 2006. I was already very much into this music. It's just already in my DNA. So I just picked the trombone because I knew what it could do. Because I was already listening to bands like the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones and there's that it was a game for the PlayStation 2. I think it was just called Aggressive Skating.
I don't know that one.
I think it was just called aggressive because it was the whole. It's not really a thing anymore. Aggressive skating, but it's basically like skateboarding, BMXing. I think it was in the X Games, but it was just like rollerblading.
Okay.
A specific type of rollerblade that was like they were going in and out of these like Olympic sized half pipes with those. So there was a video game. In that video game, the soundtrack, which a lot of this comes down to video game soundtracks from when we were young, but was what's that song? The Wrong Way. What is that by Sublime? Am I getting that wrong?
That sounds right.
I think so. We'll fact check you and take it out if you're wrong.
that song has a pretty extensive trombone solo. It's like it's very loud, and I think I had that in my head echoing when I was in the band room 6th grade picking out the instrument.
Yeah, so you've said a couple things or mentioned a couple things about being influenced by kind of skate culture. So are you yourself involved in any sort of skateboarding, rollerblading, BMXing, anything like that?
I'll say I was in middle school, a little bit of high school. I kind of fell out of it. I went face first into a quarter pipe on like the foam pit ramp, and so that was bad. So that kind of took me out of it. I stopped doing it. It's funny. I don't know. It's no longer in this room, but I bought a skateboard 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I can go get it if you want. I have visual aid. Doesn't matter. It fits in with it's plaid, so it fits in with the ska theme of the first song. But I bought it just because I was like, you know what? I'm like, Tony Hawk is still skateboarding. He's like almost 60. I'm like, this is a good time for me to I think I was 28 at the time. This was a good time for me to pick this back up and maybe kind of get back into like the muscle memory of it, And I've been snowboarding I haven't really taken a break off of snowboarding except for when I was really, really, really poor in college.
That'll do it.
that'll take that hobby right out of you.
Yeah.
But the muscle memory of like being on a piece of wood and riding around on it, the balance was still kind of there. And so I bought this thing after probably 6 months of just obsessing about this, looking at stuff online, picking out all the hardware, and finding something that is not only good for like a 110-pound middle schooler, but also like a 200 plus pound, adult man. I'm like, so what kind of like hardware do I need? After obsessing over that, I finally bought one. Went out to Modern Skate and Surf in Royal Oak, Madison Heights. Thank God nobody was there that day. I think I went on a school day or something. And to my credit, I skated around for a while without any major injury. But my legs started I was going up and down these ramps, and I went into a curve one, and my weight was off, and my legs they were spaghetti. And I flew off the back of it because my weight was on the back of it, And so I was the guy took one look at me and he was like, yeah, we're giving this guy full pads. Like I had wrist guards, helmet, shin pads, elbow, knee pads. I had all the pads, everything short of goggles, everything short of like a physical face mask.
The only pads you wear during snowboarding.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Although you should wear a helmet.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Just goggles. I think I'm good. My head, snow in my eyes, that's the worst.
Right. But so I fell, I landed square on my right side, and I don't think I broke a rib, but I think I bruised one pretty bad. That was the first time I remember in my recent adult life. I was like, I wanted my mom. It hurt so bad. All I could utter was just, ow. And again, thank God nobody was there. Otherwise I would have been surrounded by a bunch of tweens that just were laughing at me for just doing such a simple thing. I went over to the sit down area where you get all your pads on, and I just kind of sat there and had to relearn how to breathe for a little bit because it just physically hurt. And then I went home, and that was the summer. That was the spring before I got married. And I was like, am I going to be able to dance effectively at my wedding on the dance
man.
floor. And I don't want to spoil the suspense that I just created, but it was fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's certainly something you don't want to do with your new fiance is go send it too hard at the skate park as a grown man.
It sounds so stupid. But
You
that's
go
what I
for the
did.
dip and you drop her on the floor. It's like, oh.
My bad side.
No, that's awesome though. Because I have similar, I guess, roots in this style of music, but I was never. I mean, I skateboarded for like one summer, never figured out how to ollie, and just kind of gave up. So, yeah, it's really cool to see. I guess that side of the culture. We're pretty much coming up on time, so let's move on over to the ratings, unless there are any last points.
I'm good.
Sweet. So this was the Cheboygan Blood Orange for you guys. I had the Grimm Brothers Brewing, the Griffin, which is a blood orange hef from Loveland, Colorado. 5%, 5.1% ABV. Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised. I say surprised because it doesn't really taste like most of the Hefeweizens that I've had have been pretty traditional German Hefeweizens. So, I mean, I saw blood orange and I was like, ooh, that'll be interesting. And of course, it fits in with the blood orange. Yeah, it's light, but still has all the flavors. I got to do one more sip to lock in my rating here. I think I'm going to go with 3.5. I'm in between a 3.25 and a 3.5. I think I'm going to settle on the 3.5.
Out of 100.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. No. For anyone here, we like to do a 5-point scale in 1/4 increments. So 0.25s, 5s, up to 5.
I always worry I'm gonna do that like when we're making Instagram content, like we do these same ratings, and I'm just like, did I say 10 or 5? Because 4 out of 10 is awful, but 4 out of 5 is really good.
True.
I'll go next. I'm pretty happy with this. In terms of like multiple beer type drinking, I think this would be on the docket for that type of thing. It's also good for what we're doing too, which is the one-off, and we're gonna go lighter from here, which will be pretty nice. I think it'll make it taste like water, which is a good and bad thing. But yeah, we're going with a 4. Dallas, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I mean, all these are pretty much top. This is my favorite beer, so I'm gonna say this one's a 5.
All right.
Awesome. All right, and with that, we're going to rinse out our glasses, pour our next ones, and be back at you for segment number 2. Welcome back to BYOBeats Podcast, your beer and music podcast. We are here in the childhood memory segment with our guest, Dallas Arlo. We're not wasting any time here. We're getting straight to the beer. The selection is a recurring favorite on this show. We have found
Nice.
the Blue Ribbon winner itself, Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Pibber, if
The
you will.
Pibber, yes, if you will. Not to be confused with professional bull riding,
Oh,
which is
or
also the PBR.
Mr. Pibb. It's not that either.
Ooh, very different from Mr. Pibb. Unfortunately, the day that I went to go build my 6 for this, they were out of the tall boys for PBR. I mean, they had the code, this little slidey boy was just empty, so
Johnny is a failure. That's what he's telling you.
I got Dale's. I got Dale's Pale Ale instead.
Okay.
It's not exactly the same, but I think they're pretty similar. It's been a long time since I've had a Dale's, so
I think you're gonna be surprised. I mean,
I remember it being really bitter.
Yeah.
It
You go ahead
smells
first.
really bitter.
I need you to talk about this first because I need to see how far off this is gonna be. I'll have a far off one later, so it'll be fine.
This just tastes like an IPA.
Yeah, it's so not a pale ale whatsoever, flavor wise.
Definitely not PBR.
No.
No, I don't know why I thought maybe it was just the blue can. Like,
Yeah.
it was flipped a switch in my brain. I was like, yes, that's the same.
Yeah, you might have been better off with like natural ice or something.
Yeah, I
don't
should
know.
have just grabbed like a Miller or something.
Hmm.
Oh well.
But, hey,
I got
you enjoy
Dale's.
that.
I got Dale's.
You got a higher ABV than us for sure. So,
I
don't
think this
even-
is 6.
is it 6? Oh, okay.
I'd have
It
to
probably
Google
doesn't
it. It doesn't even say what kind. It just says beer on it.
The
Oh,
best kind
I
of
mean,
beer.
I'm trying to find like if it says like like lager, like where it would say that. I think it's just a regular beer.
Yeah, I don't think they concern themselves with labels other than PBR.
That's the only label they need.
Union made though. That
Oh.
has to be on the label.
Yeah. So Dallas, why is PBR your childhood memory?
I feel like all these questions are going to come back to my dad. So I don't know. He had this obsession with this beer. It's like beer and Jaeger for some reason. And so this one is just like, if I'm gonna go to the beach, if I'm grabbing a beer and throwing it in a cooler with like some chips and shit like that, then it's gonna be PBR. It's cheap. It's not gonna. You kind of have to drink a lot of them to get like out of control. So
True.
it's just something that you can have like a lot of them and just kind of ride it,
The session.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like to say the session ability of a beer. How many of
Yeah.
these can you put away?
A lot.
Yeah.
Well,
If you like
so-
the flavor, you can do a
Yeah.
lot. Because that's one thing, especially compared to other domestics, domestic value beers. This one very clearly has the most flavor. Whether or not it's a good flavor is in the eye of the beholder. Historically, I'm not a big fan of that flavor. I will say the last couple times I've had it, it's grown on me. But I think it also depends on like the order in which you drink. So like in this show, oftentimes we'll be drinking maybe 6 even different styles, all back to back. So I mean, if you're going from like a burnt motor oil stout to a PBR, it's like that kind of changes the perception. Or there was that one time with, I think it was the fluorescence episode, Doss.
it's not a real thing. You're talking about the burnt motor oil one.
I would
think
not put it past somebody to make that.
You're right.
there's I think in one episode we had a Limerita
We did.
and
yes.
then a
That was
PBR back to back.
Oh, I forgot that was what the order was.
And
I
then we
forgot about
all
Limeritas.
hated the PBR so much because we had Limerita in our mouth.
Right, yeah, we were so sweet, and then you go so something else.
So
'Cause
beer.
You can't call, so beer is a good descriptor. You can't call this bitter, I don't think. There's not enough flavor to be fully bitter, in my opinion.
Especially in
I'm
like
never-
the craft beer bitterness, which is almost always the hops.
Yeah, well, isn't bitter a type of beer at a certain point?
Yes.
Yeah, so if that's your 10 on a bitterness scale, this is probably like a -2 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we're getting so far into the what, and we should get into the why. So, Dallas, you told us it has to do with your dad. Was this just like his beer, or was it something you drank with him? Yes to both. Yes to
I
other
guess-
things. I don't know.
It's such a weird answer because neither of my parents are really drinkers. But
Mine neither, actually.
Yeah, and so the fact that I have like this immediate association with PBR and him, I'm just like, it's funny to me actually. But I think he just liked that it was red, white, and blue, and then it just has like history established in 1844. I don't know what it is. He just had some kind of thing. He's just like, oh, we got to get some PBR. It's like, I don't know. It was like a meme or something, and it just became the thing that he always like used. The only time my parents ever really drink is when they're up at camp. They have this permanent camper set up in northern Michigan, so they go there throughout the summer. Pretty much, it's been parked there for, again, I think I'm 30. I think it's been up there for 23, 24 years, and so they've got like a lean-to, like a porch set up. They've got like futons. They've got furniture, all this kind of stuff. And the only time that they really drink is when they're up there, and so. That was the drink of choice.
I gotta say, as an outdoor enjoyer myself, nothing quite hits as hard as drinking a beer with a sunset and a fire going.
And what beer is that?
Well, for me, it depends. I'm a lot more into the craft beer. There's a lot of really good craft, like, camping beers. I tend to go with something shandy adjacent, at least in the summertime. Can't go wrong with a hazy IPA. I mean, that's my anthem would be a hazy IPA. Or if you want to slam a bunch, then you just can't go wrong with Busch Light. You can throw down 30 of those, no problem.
Because of the thing they have with corn farmers, I just taste corn when I drink Busch Light. I don't know why, like, because it's on the can, or at least the box.
The corn cans, like, yes, those come out in the summer.
Yeah.
It's probably been a while. I can't really speak to Busch Light. I could probably speak to Labatt.
Oh,
Labatt. So
I
Labatt
love Labatt.
I don't know if it was my first childhood memory. It should have been if it wasn't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, but that's my dad's beer. In the same way that you're talking about. Like, neither of my parents drink much, but they always like their, they call them tiki nights, which is when they light the 2 to 4 torches that they have for the backyard, and they sit out there with their, what's the drink? I love this drink. The Long Island iced tea. Yes, and if my dad's going to have a beer, it's Labatt for sure.
Labatt is, and I will say that Labatt in Michigan is very abundant. It's a lot harder to find elsewhere.
Yeah, when in Pittsburgh, you're not even close. Nowhere.
And what's crazy is in Chicago, the far and away the number one, like, retailer of Labatt Blue is Johnny's Ice House, the hockey rink.
Oh, really?
Oh.
That's where I played Adult League, and you'd always go up for a beer afterwards, and it's always, you get like 2 or 3 pitchers of Labatt for the team, and you just, go for it there. So that's what I've really come to associate with Labatt with.
Yes.
Very fond memories. If you're more interested in that story, you can go listen to my updated episode from the end of season 2, where we talked about that. But now we have some music to talk about. We talked a lot about beer and a lot about beers that aren't PBR. But
Hey, Johnny, Johnny, before we go to the song, we have to do bio stuff.
Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
Dallas, tell us about yourself. Dawes, you can give the official prompt.
Yeah. So the idea here is to get a good picture of like your musical journey. So you can start that wherever you feel like. Usually, in the case of classically trained musicians, we like to start in the college era, though.
Okay.
Unless you feel like there's something very relevant before that.
It just depends on how deep. There's some pretty cool things that happened to me when I was in middle school and early high school.
Well, go ahead there then. So yeah,
sure. So I picked up my aunt, and I still have this guitar. It's right there. It's my aunt had an electric guitar that she wasn't using, and so I was really into music. I was playing. I think this was in like 5th grade. I think so. It was even before middle school started. Before I picked up the trombone, I picked up this guitar, and then it's kind of a crazy story. I've talked about my dad quite a bit. There's the band, the Dropkick Murphys, which was one of the contenders for the Anthem song. They have been touring since like 1996. I think it's either 1995 or 96. My dad was there in Detroit every time they came. to Detroit.
Wow.
And they were playing really small clubs. Like if you think St. Andrews Hall in Detroit, which would be a small venue for them now, they were playing the basement. They were playing the basement shelter there. That's where their thing was. And after the shows, they would just hang out at the bar. And my dad, it just can talk, for on and on. He makes friends everywhere he goes. And so he became friends with them. And this was before the band's hit with I'm Shipping Off to Boston, and that movie, The Departed. So Ken Casey, the lead singer and bassist of the band, calls up my dad around Christmas time, 2004, 2005, and he's like, how's things going? This is still before they had like a huge international fame that occurred after that movie came out, because they were heavily featured in the soundtrack. He was like, oh yeah, we're doing this, and oh, Dallas, he's just picking up guitar. And he's like, oh, there's no way. That's so cool. And he's like, you should have him learn. They have a song called Skinhead on the MTBA. And so he's like, you should have him learn Skinhead. And then he can come up on stage and play with us when we come to Detroit in like March or something. And so fast forward, that happened. And so that kind of set in motion a crazy mix of events over the span of a couple of years. I want to say that was 2005, 2006. And then we happened to be, so fast forward, I think to the following summer, we were at the Warped Tour, Warped Tour, although I think it's coming back.
That's what they're saying.
I've heard that.
Will it be as good though? That is the hard question, but we do not have time for that.
No, that's a different podcast.
The whole debate. We run into because it's just they for the non-Warped Tour goers from yesteryear, they would set it up in the city's main, it was at Comerica Park, it was at there was someplace in Pontiac. It was a huge parking lot, and all these bands would play different stages throughout the whole place. So the bass player to the Bouncing Souls, I don't know if you guys know the band, he was just walking by. His name's Brian. My dad happened to recognize him because we were big fans of the band, still are. I have a tattoo that the bass player, the bass player when he's not touring does tattoos. And so my dad and I, 2 springs ago, we drove out to New Jersey and got tattoos done by him. So we run into him and he's like, oh, how's it going? He's like, hey, Brian, we're big fans, yada, yada, yada. And he mentions that I had just played a song with the Dropkicks back in March. And he's like, oh, you got to have him come play one for us too. I'm like, and we're just like, hell yeah. Oh, fine. And these are just 3 chord songs, right? It's punk music. Sure. And so he was like, should we exchange information or whatever? He's like, no, don't worry about it. Just get there at noon the day of the concert, whatever day it was. He's like, just get there before sound check and, we'll get you in. So then fast forward, and it's like, we're not sure if he's going to remember. He probably tells this to all the kids, Fast forward, we show up there early. There's no security there. We just walk right in. And the band's there. And we're like, hey, Brian, we're here. You had said this thing, back in the summer about, Dallas coming to play guitar. Do you still want to do that? And he had completely forgotten about it. But he's like, shit, I totally forgot about it. Let me go run it by the other band members and we'll see. So I'm just not sure. I'm just kind of trying not to get my hopes up, managing expectations, all these life lessons, And then they come back and they're like, hell yeah, let's do it. So then get to play a song called True Believers. And man, that probably should have been the anthem, honestly. But that would have been a good one. But yeah, so that's that. This is just the deep dive, and we lost him.
Oh no!
I accidentally kicked my power cord. It's all right. I'm still here. We'll just.
Johnny's
rolling?
Still a failure.
I'm still a failure. Yeah, we're still rolling. It's just my. We're good.
We'll
Okay.
get it. He'll come back.
It's just I'm the BYOBeats logo for the rest of this segment.
That's a nice logo.
Thanks. Shout out Courtney McCowan.
Yes.
Great job, Courtney. So that happened. That was 2006 because that was their gold tour. I have a drum head that Brian did, the bass player. He's the band's artist. He does all the artwork. He after the show, because we got to hang out backstage, and this also ties in the PBR because backstage, where was this? I think this was at St. Andrews Hall. They had a bin full of swag it said punk rock bouncing souls on it, but it was the Pabst Blue Ribbon logo.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool.
So if you're looking at it from, if that's this wall is like 6 feet away. If I'm looking at it from this far away, you can't tell that it's not the PBR logo. And I actually did get in trouble in middle school for wearing it to school because they're like, you can't wear a beer shirt. You're 11 or something. You know what I mean? And I was like, I don't get it. This is just a band shirt. But yeah, so
Wow.
I'll just to say that was 2007. And then fast forward another couple of years. I think I was turning 13. I got to play with the Dropkick Murphys again. I don't know how that worked out, but so that was that.
Wow. Was it the same song or a different song?
Different song. That song was Barroom Hero. That is one of the songs because my dad is one of their oldest connections, one of the band's oldest friends in Detroit. So he almost always gets a shout out at these shows, you know. And
Wow.
so they're like, and his name, for those who know him in Detroit, his name is Snake. And so like, this one goes out to Snake or whatever. And it's, you know, Barroom Hero and, you know, my dad's fighter. The whole song is about like, you know, a barroom hero gets into fights and stuff. So it ties it all in, you know? So that's for all intents and purposes, that's sort of like a part of my music upbringing.
I'm sure we'll get to this, but I do have a question already. Would you consider guitar to be the primary? Because I know, like, in terms of how much, like, when you take gigs, you play trombone. But I know you also are a piano player as well. What do you consider your primary for your general life?
The primary is definitely trombone.
Okay.
I'm probably as good of a guitar player to play in a punk band. I never progressed. I'm not gonna play Hello Dolly on guitar. It would be like reading a different language.
Okay.
I'm not about to like make money playing it, but it's just a hobby. And I never really progressed out of that, like those chords and, you know, playing that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah, trombone and piano. Those are probably my two big ones.
Gotcha.
And then a little bit of guitar. So then played the trombone, fast forwarded all the way through high school. Never really took it seriously. Auditioned for school. I auditioned at Oakland University, Rochester, Michigan. Studied there. Found a love for brass band because there's a brass band there. After that, went to and did some summer festivals here and there. Some trombone festivals. Shout out to Third Coast Trombone Retreat.
Yes.
Those guys are amazing.
It's huge. I think every trombone player I know has gone there.
It's one of the best summer educations you can get. It's vibes wise, content wise, teaching wise. It's like the best thing it's one of the best things you can do. And then I sort of took all that and auditioned for my master's. And this was a really in trombone performance. This was a pivotal moment for me. I didn't have any options coming out of high school. My grade point average was, I think, a 2.65. And that was with like my last year. I took as many band theater classes that I possibly could. I think I had 4 band classes. There's 3 band classes, a theater class, and then like what was called senior math applications. On Fridays we watched The Apprentice for some weird reason. And then we're not going there, but you know, I'll just say that was fun to watch The Apprentice when you're in high school and
Right.
you know, just trying to literally skate by as easily as you possibly can to give yourself any kind of grade point average boost possible, you know.
Sure.
So I didn't really have any options. I was a talented young trombone player, but I didn't really get out there. So I was just not a good student, smart, but not a good student. Every year throughout elementary school, middle school, high school, I was terrified that the teachers were going to hold me back a year. Every single year, I was just terrified of that happening. And so, I don't know. We're getting into the weeds here a little bit, but I'll just to say Oakland was my only option, and I absolutely loved it there. It was, you know, working with Ken was absolutely incredible. He was exactly what I needed for that time. The academic the academics were such that they were smaller school, but very rigorous. There's people that do undergraduate degrees there to go on to get degrees, masters in theory, doctorates in theory from like Indiana University, you know, Yale. It sets you up to just go wherever you possibly can.
Yeah.
But very intense. I failed a bunch of classes, I was originally a trombone performance and education major, and I failed Theory 1, and they only offered it in the fall, so I had to wait a whole another year to advance in my music education classes, and then I failed a class what was my sophomore year, but I was still finishing freshman level classes, I think. Maybe I'm getting this mixed up. But anyway, all in all, I failed 2 classes, which set my education degree back. I was looking at a 7-year education degree. And I was looking at, and which is not an uncommon thing. It's really common to finish in that amount of time. But I was looking at what the people that I came into in my starting year, I was watching them get into these upper level classes, and I was saying to myself, you know what? I kind of want nothing to do with that. And just where I was at in my life at the time, I was like, you know what? I'm going to drop ed. And I finished in 4.5 years. And by the time my junior year rolled around, I started to take trombone really seriously. And then I did, you could say 5 years of like lessons, because I did 4.5. Like I continued to pretty much attend school the semester that I was done. But took all that, and then I auditioned for my master's, and then just auditioned everywhere. And then I got in everywhere. And I got full rides from 4 of the schools I applied to.
Wow.
And I get emotional thinking about it today sometimes, because it all happened so fast. That it was just, I don't know, it's just crazy. So I really put myself out there, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I was good at something, or that I was worth something. So I ended up going to Carnegie Mellon University to study with Pete Sullivan, and I fell in love with him and his teaching style immediately. The orchestra was crazy guy, and I ended up being his graduate assistant, and that was a crazy experience.
Yeah. Not to stop you for any reason. That's such a heartwarming story to dig through the trenches and find yourself on top. That's very admirable, and also I want to know so much more, because my master's definitely changed who I am. And if you want to hear about that, go ahead and go listen to my most recent episode. But yeah, sorry, continue with your time at Carnegie Mellon.
Sure. What I got from my undergrad was a solid basis of fundamentals, sound concepts. The British brass band style definitely helped pull me out of my shell. What I lacked was a super duper solid orchestral education. And so, which is why I ended up going to Carnegie Mellon, because I wanted to. It was between that, U of M, and some other schools, and I was just like, you know what, Carnegie Mellon, like they offered me the fellowship, the assistantship. I got to go there, with the full scholarships. It's like, that's where we're gonna go. Just really dove into that. I don't think I played a single solo my entire time there for a jury.
Wow. What, just excerpts then?
Every single jury was excerpts, and when you go to a school like CMU, your jury is an audition panel for an orchestra. It was Craig Knox, it was Becky, it was Bill Caballero, it was Jeff D, it was Pete. I'm like, it's just Jim probably had his own stuff going on at Duquesne, and that was what I was there to get. And he had told me a story of when he was in school. His approach to the trombone was he was just going to learn how to play the excerpts, and then once he won a job, figure out how to play solos. And so I sort of adopted that mentality of like, you know what, I'm here to learn how to play excerpts and then win a job, which, spoiler alert, hasn't happened yet. But so and then I ended up playing solos for my recital at the end.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah,
That-
yeah, just
that
a
would
really
be a
solid
rough road.
orchestral.
Yeah, that
Go
would
ahead.
be a rough road to only play excerpts.
There was one lesson I was playing, and I was feeling unsure of myself, and so I was like, oh, what about this? What do you think? You know, is this the right tone? And he's like, Dallas. I think it was like Ride of the Valkyries or something from like an obscure ballet or whatever. He was like, and he had just said it was fine, and I was just kind of looking for more. I think I was getting ready for my first professional audition, which was the San Francisco Ballet second trombone. So
That's quite a first one. Wow.
Yeah. Whoa.
yeah, and
Go big.
right. Oh, I was looking down the pathway. I'm like, I haven't taken an audition yet. I probably should. That one came up. It was a second trombone audition, which is more what my chops are meant to do. I'm not I can play principal. I can do that. But second is probably where I live. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to, book a flight, get a hotel room, and then go out there and do that. But so anyway, I was in this lesson playing probably some kind of crazy, opera excerpt or obscure ballet excerpt. And I was like, so what do you think is, was it this? He's like, Dallas, if I say it's fine, it's fucking fine. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm like, I'm good. I'm like, all right. That's like what I needed, was just like, dude, it's fine. You sound great,
Yeah. Yeah, people don't like the word fine in our line of work, do they?
Right.
I feel like people
Right.
just don't like the word fine in general.
Yeah.
People always think that fine has some sort of underlying, like, complaint to it.
Right. No, you gotta do the Raven Simone. He's fine.
I thought you meant like when she has her vision, like I'm like sometimes
not
Zoom into the eyeball, yeah.
I'm like I was even nodding my head. I'm like, yeah, sometimes you gotta.
Right. Yeah. I mean, maybe that too. Yeah. But
All right.
should we jump to what you're up to now?
Yeah.
Would you mind doing that, or is there still something you want to hit before that?
I conducted the brass roots a bit when I was in Pittsburgh. That was really fun.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead if you got a story about that one, because Brass
Sure.
Roots is a prominent brass group there still.
Which is why I've been trying to start this brass group in Detroit
Okay.
for a while now. It's just like my project. It rests solely on my shoulders, which is why sometimes I'll go 12 months without putting anything toward it because I'm like, it's a lot rests on me. But yeah,
Sure.
I subbed in for one of their Christmas concerts or something, just playing trombone, and then I was good enough friends. At least I thought maybe it's just false confidence, but I messaged David Gardner. So he was like the head sort of guy that had started it all. I messaged him. I think I sent him an email. I was like, hey, I'm studying conducting at CMU under Dan Curtis, and if you ever need a conductor for anything for the brass roots, just know that I would love to have the opportunity. He responded to that positively, and him and I grabbed coffee and we just talked about like concepts and stuff like that, and yeah, and oh my god, I'm just remembering now. So Lance LaDuke, may he rest in peace. I remember being in like the lower, if you can picture the music building at CMU, you're in the lower area where it goes out to like the street level. I was down there. I was doing some score study. I was freaking out because I was about to go conduct the brass roots for the first time, and Lance was just kind of walking by, and he just asked how I was doing, and I was just like honestly, I'm really nervous about going and conducting this group. I'm like, these guys are professionals. They're my friends. I had known, a number of those the members, but I was just like freaking out. I was losing it a little bit. And he's like, dude, just go in there and just do your thing. It's like, just go in there and just lay it down. Don't make it too complicated. Just go in there and make music. I'm like, I totally forgot about that moment that him and I shared until just now. For Lance.
Anytime.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so when I was in Pittsburgh, just to finish off this chapter, I subbed a lot with River City Brass Band, which was like a home away from home because I had played a lot of brass band in undergrad, and which I guess brings us to today. I've just been freelancing in the Detroit area. I taught the brass methods class at Oakland. I think it was one of the first years that I was back in Michigan because they were in between trumpet teachers at the time. I believe this is true.
Okay.
And so they just reached out to me like, hey, we need somebody to teach this brass methods class. Do you want to do it? So I agreed to do it. Around the same time, I took a job at an automotive supplier, and I started to do I started writing technical manuals for like automation equipment, and thus began like this sort of duality of like a career away from music, and music is over here, and sort of spent the next couple of years not really knowing where music fit in. This also coincided with the COVID restrictions.
Okay.
So which but that was I finished my master's in 2019, moved back to Detroit for the summer, and then September started teaching at Oakland and took the job at the automotive company, and then COVID hit, and then you couldn't play anymore in the orchestras.
Right.
Yeah, and then fast forward to today. I stream on Twitch. I'm trying to cement myself as a composer. So I've been doing these like composition exercises. Like there's an indie film music contest that I submitted for, that I won the popularity contest for, which just meant that I hit the algorithm on YouTube somehow better than everybody else did. I don't know how that happened, but I think overall
that's a skill also. Like, I mean, you make TikToks as well. Like, I've seen some. I don't know if you've gone viral on there yet, but I mean,
for sure haven't.
Yeah. It's just tough though. Like, you have to have that one little thing that everyone just is like, yes, that.
Right.
And it's impossible to know when you've hit that until you put it online.
Right. So, yeah, I've been streaming on Twitch for over 2 years now, and that specifically has helped me kind of fall in love again with performing music, like with a guitar, with piano, singing. And this year, I've been really hitting a stride on Twitch. I will sometimes post clips on Instagram, on TikTok. YouTube kind of sucks for posting shorts. I just can't seem to find a stride there. But like they'll get like 2 views. I'm like, okay, never mind. I don't want to put my energy toward this.
Gotcha.
But Twitch is something that's been a cool thing. It's like my own little radio show. I've been getting vocal coachings to learn how to sing better, try to find my specific voice. And I don't know, weirdly, this year alone, I've been doing not more music since when I was in college, but I'm probably doing as much music as when I was in college, going to school for music, just between like collaborations with people around the world and things like that. So it's been a bit of a wild ride, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to hear that you've been able to get into it after COVID. I feel like there's so many musicians that ended up giving up, rightfully so in a lot of cases, just because it's such a hard thing to get back into. I'm getting there personally, but like it's always great to hear a success story. So Johnny, I think it's time.
Yeah, let's talk about the selection. So we are going to take a quick break and listen to the song, which is from Phil Collins and the Tarzan soundtrack. We are going to be listening to Son of Man, and then we'll be right back.
I'm going to go get some tissues because it's about to be waterworks over here.
Right?
So, Son of Man from Phil Collins and the Tarzan soundtrack. Dallas, what makes this a childhood memory?
Peak. It's peak. He did that for us. You know what I mean? He didn't have to go that hard. They're like Phil Collins, we're doing this thing for a It's it's a movie, animated movie about a guy who was raised by monkeys, and he's like, hold on a second, let me just write the best banger of a soundtrack as you possibly can, and somehow also collaborate with NSYNC. Get out of here! What?
That was strange, but I love that video too, though.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah. So I'm the only musician in my family, but we're all very musically minded, very music. My mom is. If she had picked up an instrument, she probably would have been really, really good at it. There has been times practicing in my parents' living room, and I would be playing something, whether whatever it was, some concerto or something. She'd be like, you're doing this weird thing with your throat. Are you supposed to be doing that? I'm like, damn it, Mom. Like, that was, I'm like, nope, I shouldn't be. You know what I mean? It's like the kind of thing, it's like you have to have some like kind of crazy like musical or analysis part of your brain that's like, what do you, like that, this, something is wrong about this,
Yeah.
So she's a very musical person. And this soundtrack was a CD that my mom had in her car growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And on days, I specifically remember when she would, if I missed the bus to go to elementary school, or we would always put this on the way she would drive me to school. This whole soundtrack would be on. So yeah, just being in the car with my mom and just reminds me of that. Yeah.
This was my dad's CD that he would play in his office when
Hell yeah.
he was doing bills or whatever. Yeah, I've known every word to this whole soundtrack for quite a while. I'm surprised it didn't end up on one of my episodes, actually. So yes, I appreciate you, and I see you for sure.
It just transcends what it set out to do.
Yeah, and it's noticeable when you watch the movie too, that it's so the focal point of those moments that and it propels the movie forward too, which is strange to say about a soundtrack because a lot of the time it's to serve the emotion that the movie is trying to portray.
Mm-hmm.
It just is the emotion in this case, I think.
Yeah, the Tarzan soundtrack is one of the best ones out there. It's good.
Yeah.
Doesn't get better than that.
Yeah,
You know?
I think a lot of people around our age, right on the kind of the cusp of what they call it. Is it technically millennials and Gen Z, or is it just Gen Z? I don't know where.
Yeah, we're on the older end of Gen Z.
Yeah,
And
you're
on the younger end of millennials, maybe.
Yeah. I'm 30. I'm 94.
94.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's like 95 to like 2000.
It's technically Gen Z, yeah.
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 But that the late 90s kids who were born then, I think Tarzan was pretty important to a lot of us.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I had the VHS tape and
Hell yeah.
yeah. Those of us who remember, knowing how to use a VHS tape and the rewinder and everything. Yeah.
Don't press play and then rewind. No, stop, then rewind.
Stop, then
otherwise
rewind.
it's not going fast enough.
Yeah. So this song, the other song from that soundtrack that I think a lot of people resonate with is "You'll Be in My Heart."
We almost picked that one, yeah.
We almost did, yeah. That was actually my the mother-daughter dance at weddings. That was my mom's. That was our song.
Oh.
And to this day, I cannot differentiate between in that song. I cannot differentiate between what is in the song and what was my mom singing quietly in the car along to it, because I hear it and I'm just like, her voice is just in there.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's just the vocal range of the person that's singing, because it was a female voice. Come stop your crying. It's just in there, alongside it. So
Yep. Not alone in that one either. That's crazy. I think off of the same album, one of my childhood memory on one of my two interviews was Traffic Jam by James Taylor. And there's other songs on the album that I picked from that exactly the same. I hear my mom singing it. There's certain movies too that I would watch as a kid, and I swore I heard my mom yelling mine and my brother's name from upstairs at this one moment, and it was just the TV, but I swear that was her because it probably happened.
Yeah. All
I
right.
love the power of music. I'm sorry.
There's
so
something
good.
about music that just hits you on a spiritual level. Like it transcends what like our human understanding. So that's something that's so awesome about doing this show. Unless we have any other comments about this song in particular, we can get to our ratings, and we still got a lot to go. So
We do.
all right, so I had the Dale's Pale Ale instead of the PBR because I'm a goofball. It's not a PBR. Doesn't taste anything like PBR, but it's still pretty good. I don't know if I would call it a pale ale. It definitely tastes more like a IPA, India Pale Ale, as opposed to, I guess technically it would be American, but they claim to be the original American craft beer, so that's pretty cool. Oscar Blues Brewery out of Colorado. So I'll finish it, and then I'll give you my rating. It's better than I remember it being. Like, I remember trying to drink one of these, and it was the most bitter thing I'd ever tasted. And that was a few years ago, but at this point, that's a solid 3.25.
For PBR, I'm going to go with a 3. It's very good. I've never. It's not very good. That's not true. It wouldn't be a 3 if it was very good. But it's solid enough to be on the upper side of the 5-point scale. I've been burping a lot from this beer, though. That's just a general comment. I don't know if that factors into the rating or not, but anyway. Dallas, go ahead.
It's worth noting. It's worth noting. Carbonation, you know, things of that chemistry, you know.
Yeah.
Chemistry. I just put in random science words, you know, just up the scientific vocabulary of the show. Yeah, I mean, I think that a 3 is a solid rating. I would, or would you give it a 3.25 or 3?
For me, it's a 3, but I could see 3.25.
I would say it's a 3.25 because I mean I don't drink a lot, and I could drink 6 of these. You know what I mean? So and have a great time and stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated.
Oh yeah,
lots of water in there. Yeah.
All right, and with that, we're gonna rinse out our glasses, pour our next ones, to be back at you next week for the third segment.